A lot of things have changed in Leh over the last 10 or 15 years, or maybe 20 years. And the people of the town, the government, the local people were saying, look, this is not the kind of city we want. And then the question was, okay, then what kind of city do you want, and how are you going to get there? And for that, I think we all were lucky to have someone like Bala who stepped in and said, okay, this is how you create a vision, and this is the process we follow. There's a lot of discussion with the local committee, and I don't want to go into that, but that's what the panel is about. So with that, Bala, I'll hand over to you to have a great discussion today about how the Leh Vision 2030 process, how it came about, how it is going, what are the lessons you have learned, and how do you see the future unfolding for Leh? Thank you very much for joining us, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you for the generous introduction, Manas. When we set up this event, I had sent out a sort of a plan for the session to all the panelists, and I'll by and large follow that structure. We can of course remain flexible on this. To begin with, let me say that I've worked in lots of places around India and outside India. When I visited Leh for the first time, I thought this is a great privilege, to work in a place like Leh for various reasons. One is that it has retained its character, largely because of isolation for a long period of time, and also because of the strength of culture in the city. And it's not often that you get to work in a place where there is that strong regional identity, bolstered by various aspects of its culture, and then work with them to try and improve conditions in the city while retaining that culture. And I consider it a privilege to moderate this session because I have with me three panelists who love the city, live there, and have been working to improve the conditions there. So thank you, Dr. Namgyal, Kamosas, and Smanla. It's always been a pleasure to work with you. So since not everybody in the audience may know the city of Leh very well, I would request Smanla, being a planner, being a member of the team at the Ladakh Ecological Development Group, and also being a communications person, I would request Smanla to introduce Leh to the audience briefly. So I believe you have a few PowerPoint slides, so please go ahead and share your screen. Thank you.
Okay. Hello and Julie to all. So to introduce Leh, first of all, thank you Manas sir and Bala sir for the introduction. So without getting into too much of the details, as you can see on the slide, there are mountains around the town. So it is like a valley, and like all the mountain settlements, it was developed based on a stream in the middle. So all the settlements in Ladakh is, the population that I have mentioned here, 65,927. It also includes the floating population. Floating population means there's a lot of tourists and migrant laborers who come from outside, from rest of India, because Leh has suddenly, started getting developed as such, if I can use the word development here. But because of tourism, there is a lot of influx of people. And as a result, a lot of construction and a lot of hotels. So and as you all know, it's a very high place. It's one of the highest in the country. So if we go a little bit more into detail, and since we are talking about the urban planning, and we have Mr. Moses, the director of urban local bodies, and Dr. Ishey Namgyal, who is the president of MCL. This is how the town is divided into 13 wards. 13 municipal wards, and we have uh, basically these wards are, like we all know, divided as per factors like roads and stream and geographical characteristics plus population characteristics. So uh, so this is how the town looks like right now, and there are glaciers on the top, and a stream is there in the middle which goes towards Indus, which is on the downside. And most of it was initially basically, if you see ward number 1 here, 2, 3, 2 is the old town area with forts and everything, but most of the wards on the on 3, 4, 6, these were earlier hamlets and like small villages. And now the whole everything comes under one urban under the municipal committee Leh. And we can already see characteristics of the town spreading out. If you see these roads that are going, this is the Manali Highway, this is the highway which goes to Srinagar. So the town is spreading across along the roads, is what we can see. And because we are between mountains, the land, especially the cultivable land, is limited. So now a lot of hotels and guest houses have started cropping up on these agricultural lands. So that is kind of a brief idea about how Leh looks like. Then we'll go further into the discussion. Bala sir.
Thank you. You can stop screen sharing. Yeah. Thank you, Smanla. So the next, so the way I have planned this session is to make it as interactive as possible, with the panelists coming in one by one on each topic of discussion. So the first point that I is, in my experience, cities are transformed by leaders who genuinely care for the city. So I look at the three of you, Dr. Namgyal, Moses, and Smanla. I look at you as leaders for transforming Leh. I'm sure there are lots more people in Leh who can and do take leadership roles, but you are here now. So to begin with, I would like each one of you to talk a little bit about your relationship with the city and what is your personal vision for Leh. I mean, a few years from now, when you look at Leh, what would you like to see in Leh?
Looking ahead for, say, how I would like to see the town next 20, 30 years. I was just telling, broadly, one is the physical aspect, the development of the town in terms of providing basic, civic amenities to the people, waste management, drinking water, etc., etc. And more than that, the other important factor will be, the people. After all, happiness is a state of mind. So physical development may not actually lead to happiness of town. Therefore, retaining our own, as Manan mentioned, the spirituality, quality of that, and cultivating empathy, compassion, love, care, this will be the other aspect which we will have to inculcate, cultivate, and put into our school curriculum, so that now Leh is developing into the capital of a union territory from a district. So there is a lot of establishment will be coming up, a lot of construction will be happening. That will be one aspect. There will be a lot of pressure on the natural resources, particularly water. And also now, because of the situation in eastern Ladakh, I am told that there will be massive induction of the army. So in that case, even if the army is deployed on the border, but transit point will always be Leh, because the airport is there. Therefore, again, that pressure will be there.
As now we are in the process of preparing a vision for our town, we realize that if we follow a standard procedure, any town can have similar visions. But what is unique for Leh, as per me and my understanding, is and being from a creative field, I find Leh and the surroundings, the Ladakh region, very inspiring. Like, you get bombarded with so many ideas when you are traveling in Leh, looking. looking at the smiling people and the mountains and the way it is, it's like a desert, but then there's a huge oasis in the middle with glacier water flowing in. So your senses are bombarded with a lot of uh, positivity and a lot of inspiring ideas. So and with the development that is coming in the name of development, the kind of construction that is happening, and the rapid urbanization without a proper direction is, in my eyes, this kind of change is making it now slowly look like any other town in, now, because there are mountains in the backdrop. Maybe I won't say Delhi, but then other mountain towns which are far more developed than Leh. So that is where I feel that people like us can play a role by keeping our cultural values intact and keeping the continuity of our of the cultural values and the traditions, while having without being too attached to them also, and going along according to the times.
Now, I'd like to bring the discussion to the specifics of livability, because that has been a focus of the work that the Municipal Committee and Ladakh and the Hill Development Council have all together been doing, with some support from Borda. One of the key issues in livability that I see is related to mobility, streets, and public spaces. So the ease with which people can move on streets, be in public spaces, interact with each other, the ease with which they can get from one place to another, whether it is with personal transport or using public transport, that seems to be emerging as a key issue from my point of view. The second major set of issues is related to services in the city. So whether it is good quality water supply, reliable and good quality water supply, sanitation facilities, including public sanitation, as well as good sewerage system or other forms of managing wastewater, power supply, reliable power supply, and communication. And communication is now emerging as an even more important, given the situation we are all in with the pandemic. Health and education. Now, how do the growth pattern and the forthcoming challenges, how will they affect livability in Leh? And what do you think are some of the opportunities to make Leh more livable, focusing on the practical aspects of it?
The green space of the Leh, the lungs of Leh, is located in ward number 1 to ward number 6. So that is where we need water both for drinking as well as for irrigation. And water, scarcity of water is going to become a very, very major challenge in time to come. One, because of the receding glaciers, then uncertainty, of the weather pattern, and then of course huge explosion in the population of the town, where in summer as many as 3 lakhs tourists come. Then the pressure of the army population, then paramilitary forces, then the migrant population. So water is one which is going to become very, very big challenge for the late and for its very survival. Therefore, if water can be diverted, through a tunnel or whatever it is, and then that becomes two-way. It is one, from the strategic point of view, we can swiftly deploy our troops to places like Galwan, places like Siachen, places like Turtuk in the northern and eastern border. Second, we can get the water from the other side, because the water from the other side, it goes down and flows into the shallow. It is of no use to much of the village. So there will be no resistance. So that is, in long term, my opinion is that we must go for, such a thing, and then it will be all gravity. By gravity, you can get the water supply. So there will be not much recurring cost.
First of all, your question about what makes Leh livable and being a citizen of the town, I feel that, and I don't want to talk here like from a town planner's point of view, because that takes me into a lot of technicalities. So one of the best things that I like about my town is basically the climate. The climate is so good. And on a lighter note, if I say, we do not have mosquitoes here, and that is such a, because the reference that I have lived in Delhi, Hyderabad, and these big cities, and just small things like the pleasant weather and not having mosquitoes, and these things actually make it, for a layman, it makes it a very livable place, and because of which people from all over the world visits this place. And like when we move into the winters, it is, yes, it is extreme cold, but everything is so relaxed, life is so laid back, people travel out, they enjoy their holidays, and most of the major festivals are also in the winter months, and that makes the town very livable for me, and not from infrastructure point of view, not from governance, and these things does not matter to the layman directly. And that brings me to the community, which is, I think, the second reason for me, because of which Leh is livable. It is such a small community living in harmony. I might be romanticizing it a little bit here, because when we are inside the community, we also have these small issues here and there. But when I go out to bigger cities, then I realize the importance of my town. And the community is relatively very, harmonious, and people know each other. If I meet a stranger, within 2 minutes of talk, I will figure out who his father is, who her mother is. So that makes the Leh town livable for me. And because you asked me about the livability index and livability score, so from that point of view, I feel that the current tools which are available to measure the livability index of a town is mostly about infrastructure, and how much services are available online, or how many street lights per person, and things like that, which I definitely think that we have to improve upon. But that is very new to us. So I feel that from the actual characteristic of the town, the point of view of that, it is a very livable place. Now, with changing times, and with a lot of influx of people from outside, and a lot of construction happening, a lot of traffic and everything, we also have to focus on the infrastructure part of it. This is the process that we are trying to follow. And so basically we want to focus on having a very very grounded and understandable vision for the town. And then like in this case, for example, if I say we want Leh to be walkable, and not just car oriented, then that is our vision, that is our dream. So then we need a strategy to achieve that. And here, as an example, if we say we need citywide interconnected walkways, so that is our strategy to achieve the vision. And then we have we have action. Like in this case, I have just mentioned Changspa Street. It is a street that we undertook to make it pedestrian. It's like a pilot project, so to pedestrianize it, about which I'll talk a little more in detail later on. So, and then again, after the action is done, what happens is that if initially if we were at 5, then by doing a small action, now we are at 5.5. If our score is 5.5, then it is contributing to our overall vision. So then our vision might change. So then again, we'll go back to our vision and we'll say, okay, now is it a walkable Leh? If not, then we continue the process. If it is, then we improve our vision, and then again come back to the strategy and action. And that is how this document and this plan is going to be a living process, a living document. And right now the vision's target is Leh, it's 2030. But when the municipal committee and the Leh Ladakh Autonomous Hill Development Council Leh will adopt this, they will make sure that this process goes on. So just to quickly tell you about the process, we have, first of all, according to me, because we are more like planners, as like us are like the foot soldiers, and we are so glad that in this visioning process which is happening, and let me make it clear, it's not a document that which is prepared already. The process will keep going on. We are already in it, and the document will keep improving. So the intention of the local government, which is the Ladakh Autonomous Hill Development Council Leh and the Municipal Committee Leh, is the main thing here. And with their intention, it all began. And under their guidance and with them spearheading the whole process, it is happening, which I think is we are very fortunate as a town to have that, because as planners we have realized that if the leaders and the bureaucrats uh, are directionless, or if they do not have the will to make a change, like foot soldiers like us are not of much use. So this is something that is very important. And then we have a strategic planning committee, a committee of the localites, of and mostly retired people, like the chief secretary of JNK, erstwhile JNK, Mr. C. Punsov is the head of the strategic planning committee. And as and when we need people and consultation and everything, we invite people for their feedback. And then another important aspect, which if we go back to what all of the panelists talked about Leh, we all focused more on the human index, the happiness quotient, the harmony of in the town. So we are very lucky to have these values still in the town and in the lifestyle of the people. So this is another a major factor of our visioning process, where we are focusing. If we need a better road, if we need a well lit street, if we need cycle tracks, why do we need it? So that at the end of the day we are all happy and not stressed, and then there is complete compassion flowing within the citizens, and people are living happily. So we want to focus more on that. And luckily, because it is already there in the lifestyle, it is without us pushing for it, it is already there in the process. And then the third, which I feel is very important, is since we have become the UT, we are union territory now. So the secretariat is right here in front of us. Earlier we had to travel to Jammu and Kashmir for every document. So with that, there is a lot of positives. And but for us laid back people in Leh, it is also very stressful suddenly, because there's a lot of work to be done. The secretaries are right on our heads. The LG lives nearby. So and everybody is concerned about Leh, and everybody wants a master plan to be made very quickly. And when the master plan will be made, people, the consultants who will be making it, will have to go through the process of public consultation. If I wasn't aware, if I was not, as a citizen, as a lay citizen, if I was not sensitized about what are these public consultation meetings, how you should envision, then I would only talk about, I need a parking space outside my house, or I want the road to be better in front of my house. But we wouldn't have the I wouldn't have the idea of looking at it from a holistic point of view. But now with our visioning process, people will be ready, and people will have the perspective, and with a lot of discussions that is already happening, I think we'll be ready to ask for a good master plan. So like I said, if I change my slide, like the action part of it, if you see here, we have because of the intentions of the government, very quickly in last 2-3 years we could do some changes as pilots. And if you see here, this is one of the oldest streets of Leh, which was I would like to use the word affected by tourism. And this was the most vibrant street. And slowly, when other places started getting attention, this place became like the old street with with a lot of hippie culture, and that kind of, it started becoming that kind of a street. And then the focus went on other parts of the town, and this street, the characteristics started deteriorating. It is still vibrant, but it started getting deteriorated. And then because of a lot of infrastructure problem, the street looked like this on my left. I've tagged it before. And with our intervention, the government was very, very keen on improving the street. And with support from all the stakeholders, we were able to bring this street to a very, very good state. And this street is now vibrant. 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 And this street is now vi everybody in the town. The street now looks like this. And then this is, if you see on my left, this was the area which was used for parking, and one of the major a place which received a lot of footfall in the town. So and there was a public toilet here which was in a very shabby state. So the team and the government came up with the idea that we should have a good public toilet here. And Ladakh has that traditionally we use dry compost toilets, but with people coming from outside, they are not used to dry compost toilets. So uh, we thought of an idea where we can have water-based Western toilets with a dry Ladakhi toilet. So if you see this building here, uh, is uh, is the toilet now. It is it we have used local material and passive solar heating to keep the water running throughout the winters. And if we go a little bit into detail, this is how it looks at night. It looks like this, and we have used all the local artists to give it a local feel. And on my on the right side, if you this is the interior of the cafe cum toilet, and it is being run by an organization called Pagir, which is an organization of people with differently able people. So if you see these details on the windows, these small hanging things, these are all made out of cloth made by these people, and they run the place basically. And it is one of a kind in the town, and it is functional throughout the year. So this was another intervention. And a third and a very important intervention was, again, any and every open space that we had was used for parking, because unknowingly we were heading towards being a car oriented town. And on my left, if you on the left right of the screen, if you see, this was again another open space which was used for parking taxis and everything. It is in the heart of the town. And the town came up, and it was going to be a parking forever. And then the town basically did a signature campaign, and there was a huge movement where people wanted a public green open space here. So then it was approved to be a park. And this is work in progress right now. And we are only using local material, stones and earth and wood. So this is work in progress, and this is how it will look in the future. It has an open air theater with a climbing wall here, and like mountain climbing is one of the sports and activity which is picking up interest. It is becoming a part of the culture of the youth here. So we have a climbing wall here, and we have a small cafe cum public toilet here, and a lot of open green space.
Now, my question to you is Leh a happy city today? Many of you already said that it is in some ways. And how can Leh be happier and more compassionate while becoming more livable? And Dr. Namgyal and Mr. Moses, I would like you to also, while responding to these questions, I would also like you to comment on the planning process that's going on, and how you see that helping city become happier, more compassionate and livable place.
Three parts that you have touched, and I'll try to address that. Coming on to the planning part, planning is of course very important, and then you touched upon visioning also. We are not new to visioning. We already earlier we had a vision for a whole Leh district, which was called Vision 2025, and it was drafted somewhere in 2005. But and I must say it is a fantastic piece. The visioning process, the consultation, everything was there, but then it just remained as a vision, and then nothing came out of it. What I see the difference between now the visioning of the we've tried to categorize into a number of things. As Bala touched upon, like it is a process which is, and the assessment and the next vision and how the strategy is to be done and the indicators,
I guess these are the steps, and if we follow these steps, and not necessarily like one after the other, but then if we follow these steps, then I guess we can, plan it in a much better way. Coming next to the happy city and the compassionate part, happy cities, yeah, if you are attributing to the physical things, then such as mobility, quality of services, and all, I guess we are not there. We need to have all these in place to make our life much easier. Services we are lacking on. But if you are looking at the intangible part like safety, affordability, sense of belonging, I think we are quite there. And then, as all the panelists mentioned, that we are in a society, we were and we are in a society where everything happens in a community. We know each other. You can hear Julie, greetings by people. So these are like the qualities of happy city. But I guess the ultimate thing is if we can combine both the physical and the other aspect. Both can, after that, then we can have a better or a happy city. And coming on to the compassionate part, I guess compassionate is something this word looks very heavy. Whenever I think we all know the meaning of compassion, and Ladakhis, we do tend to say we are compassionate, but I don't know how. It's not for us to say that we are compassionate, for others to tell us that you guys are compassionate. And compassionate is an intangible thing.
Yeah, happy city. So I'd like to bring in a, a different perspective here. Is yes, yes, Leh is a happy city because unfortunately the reference for me is Delhi, Bombay. So so Leh is definitely a happy city. For a while we were a happy but a confused city. We went from we went from using yaks and horses to commute to directly seeing an aeroplane in our town. It literally happened that way. We saw aeroplane first and then saw trucks and buses because of a war that happened in Leh. So the gap between that between the yak and the aeroplane, to fill that gap, the generation before us were very confused. There was a huge ditch in the middle, and but fortunately very quickly, I feel very quickly we could understand what was going on, and within a few years we are in the process of building a vision for the town, which I think is a huge jump. And so I think yes, we are a happy city.
Coming back to ecology, uh, well, ecology and environment as such is not independent of Leh itself. It is on a is a worldwide, phenomena. However, on our own part, in context of Leh specific, what we can do is like we already did, long time back, thanks to our Women Alliance friends, we had banned use of the plastic long time back, and still we are enforcing on that. And plus now we are educating people through thanks to Boda, for their support, and through Ladakh, information communication technology is being used. We are going into every ward and educating people on this climate, how to preserve our climate. Uh, for instance, if I talk specifically about solid management, waste management, segregation at source, how to be more responsible, not to litter everywhere. So this kind of education is happening in every wards in Laytown, and also there are very well organized NGOs here. They are taking these messages even outside Leh to places like Pangong, where we have a lot of tourists going, to places like Somoreri, to places like Nubra, So it is, in short, it is to make people responsible and aware, so that to make them aware of the consequences. If we don't act now, what is going to happen? what has gone wrong with, for instance, Kathmandu. So these are the kind of thing. How can we learn from, for instance, country like Bhutan? So these are the messages for the preservation of the ecology and environment. That is what we are into. And then, of course, the broader factor is the climate is not, it is not dependent only on Leh. So on our part, these are the things we are doing. Also, we are thinking of going to the schools and educating the children at young age to catch them young, to be more responsible towards the environment and overall the biodiversity.
I think the answer also lies in what Mr. Kunal just mentioned, that I hope that through this smart cities mission, uh, they take the town and the vision of the people along, and do not just implement a standard developmental plan of how they made smart cities in other towns of India. The support that I would expect is they take the town along and the wishes and the dreams of the town without enforcing a particular idea of development and a particular idea of being a smart city. We do not just want to be a smart city, but as Mr. Moses mentioned, we want to be a city of soul and not just smart, of a city of compassion and happiness. Because it looks like uh, the popular understanding of being smart is technology and everything like clean and so yeah, I think I would just expect that support from the mission, basically.
To the question of what support from Smart City Mission, obviously, we would, if given a choice, we would like to be very choosy in that, and that we don't want to be another smart city. We would rather call it a modern city with a modern citizens. That would be our tagline. And closing remarks, yeah, we've talked about compassion, we've talked about livability and all these things, but I understand that we cannot just remain isolated. We have to integrate into the mainstream somehow. And although we are tried by, we are a tribal society, but we have to integrate into the mainstream. So we are conscious about ranking and parameters and stuff like that. And of course, the SDG 6, which is clean water and sanitation, we would be focusing on that. And SDG 11 also, sustainable cities and communities. I don't know about the sustainable, but resilient we are definitely. And I guess collaboration with our well-wishers like the NGOs like Ladakh, Boda, and well-wishers like Manas and all, and you also. Definitely we'll attend SDG 11, which is, partnership.
I fully agree with the two previous speaker, Mr. Smanla and Moses Sahib. I have nothing much to add. I hope, while considering Leh and Kargil, bringing that these two towns into the smart city fold, they will always maintain the unity in diversity. So that is one I would want from the government. And that's all. And thank you, Boda. Thank you, Ladakh. Thank you, Bala, and everybody. Helping Leh town to grow into a beautiful city with smiling people, happy people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all the panelists, all the participants in the session. And it was I think I learned a lot in this, and I look forward to continuing to interact and work with all of you.